theme this year is working better together. Who would have thought that within our lifetime that we would have actually experienced a pandemic? Something so catastrophic that it changed how we lived our lives socially, spiritually, physically, and the complete face of the work environment. Leading teams in person is difficult. With the pandemic, we were tasked to manage in a remote or hybrid environment. This was the rationale for our theme, Working Better Together, as we emerge from the pandemic. Let's talk about what's required to build a cohesive and high-performance team in whatever work environment we find ourselves. Patrick Lencioni describes teamwork as the greatest competitive advantage of a company. The greatest competitive advantage. But he professes that even though it is not a complicated process, it requires a lot of work and courage. Are we willing to put in the work, and do we have the courage? This morning, we'll take a practical look at Lencioni's fable, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, and how these dysfunctions can be overcome. And I speak to you, as Ross said, as a practitioner, having used his work in our training for many years. Moving from operating in a physical space to working remotely in a permanent way, our office on River Road was closed in May of 2020, so we've been working remotely ever since. This move was a challenge for the Caribbean Catalyst team, and thus the catalyst for our theme, Working Better Together. The first element in building a cohesive team that is focused on the collective results and not anyone demonstrating a Lone Ranger mentality is leadership. Leading by example, providing clear communication, being visionary, inspiring, and actively listening. But as leaders, do we have all the answers? No. The future is uncertain. So in March of 2020, when the country went into its first lockdown, our fearless leader, Roz, took a decision that was a difficult one for the team and for me in particular to swallow. But that's a whole other story. But the decision was taken to close our physical office permanently. Did Roz have all the answers? No. Did she share with the team and ask us to assist in whatever way we could? Yes. Did she ensure that we had what was required for our home offices? Yes. We had regular online meetings where Roz checked in with the team, inquiring to make sure that our physical setup was working. Was it ideal at first for some? No. Keeping a team together and functioning as a cohesive unit in a remote setting is and was challenging as everyone grappled with their own peculiarities, especially those who had children and the online learning environment. In fact, our online meetings were scheduled to start once school started, and there were times when people joined late or were interrupted because of issues related to the online learning environment. Leading by example, Roz opened up to the team about her concerns and challenges that needed to be overcome. And the team responded similarly to her. Why? Because this has always been her nature. Roz is a leader who is not afraid to ask for help, who admits that she does not have all the answers, and who is not afraid to admit that she's made an error. It is only by studying Lencioni's work that we have realized that Roz has been practicing vulnerability-based trust with us for years. The foundation of a cohesive team is one that's built on trust. Team members being open with each other in a real way changes the dynamics of a team. In fact, it's what makes the difference. Our weekly MS Teams meetings have the agenda item, open sharing on wins, disappointments, and mistakes, and opportunities for growth and learning, where anyone can share on any assignment, whether a win or a disappointment. This allows us to learn from each other's experiences and offer input or just commiserate, especially since we are not operating in the same physical space. This genuine sharing shows that we are not alone and provides the opportunity to build that culture of vulnerability-based trust within our team. Do you have someone within your lead team who is reluctant to be vulnerable? Do some introspection. Is that person you? Failing to be vulnerable is impacting the performance of your team. Saying that you need help or input, or that you're sorry for something that you did, these are not signs of weakness, but of being human. Building cohesive teams requires creating that sense of relatedness with relationships among team members based on genuine connection, camaraderie, care, and trust. Do you think that conflict on a team is necessary and healthy? I'm not speaking about trying to intimidate someone with boorish behavior and being mean-spirited. I'm speaking about productive conflict around ideas and concepts, engaging in passionate discourse, disagreeing with, challenging, questioning one another around important issues and decisions. Conflict can be uncomfortable, but lack of conflict is damaging. It is important, therefore, to engage in mastering conflict. Failure to have healthy debates will result in what Lencioni calls artificial harmony, where no one challenges or asks questions, but merely nods and agrees, knowing full well that they do not or will not commit or will do so half-heartedly. And then we wonder why we don't get the expected results. Artificial harmony usually leads to the meeting after the meeting, where what should have been discussed in the meeting then gets aired. This is destructive to a team's ability to reach its collective goals. As leaders, we have a responsibility to solicit the opinions of the team, especially those who are more reserved or who feel that there is some pecking order. If anything, speak last, but get the team comfortable sharing so that there's robust discussion before moving on to the next topic. Allow difficult issues to be discussed, but ensure that it remains respectful. Establish your conflict norms, the behaviors that are accepted when resolving difficult topics. For example, only one person speaking at a time. Teams without conflict tend to shut out valuable feedback, and this can lead to poor decision-making. Mastering conflict allows the team to have healthy debate and clarity on the decisions made. Lencioni posits that people have to weigh in order to buy in. They have to weigh in order to buy in. This leads to overcoming the next dysfunction, which is a lack of commitment. He's not talking about getting consensus, but that commitment is achieved once people feel that they have been heard. Case in point, moving from River Road. Yes, I'm circling back to that one. Without going into too many details, we were faced with a dilemma. Based on the trust that exists between myself and Roz, we spoke at length about the predicament, a good example of mastering productive conflict. And I offered a few options which were listened to and which Roz allowed me to explore. Based on the outcome, a decision was taken that when the country reopened after the lockdown, we would continue to work remotely and close the office. Although it was not a decision that I wanted, I was committed to moving forward because I was able to weigh in. As the leader, you must make the final decision. You are the tiebreaker. The next dysfunction to be overcome is the absence of accountability. And it stands to reason that if there's no commitment, there's going to be no accountability. Lencioni defines accountability as the willingness of team members to call their peers on performance or behaviors that might hurt the team. Operating in this fashion means that team members offer constructive feedback to each other and are willing to accept suggestions and acknowledge where there are areas for improvement. It's called embracing accountability. But accountability is also about holding oneself accountable for what one has committed to deliver. Our weekly team meetings involve discussions on work in progress and what can be built to meet our monthly revenue target. Each consultant holds herself accountable to the team for the fees that she has committed to bring in and provides good explanation upfront if it cannot be achieved in the stated time frame. Embracing accountability is paramount to achieving the final goal, the results. But normally leaders start with the results. Did we make target? By how much? And why not? But do we ever stop to consider that the dysfunctionalities within our team may have played a role in the non-attainment of our targets and goals? The last piece of this five-tier puzzle is a focus on results. But these results are collective, not individual. We must each do our part, but collectively we win and we can celebrate our accomplishments. I'll tell you about a project that that the team was involved in 2019. Surfside Corporate Challenge. That was truly a team effort that we were all committed to, and which resulted in the CCI Titans being second in the competition. Based on that competition, points were allocated for individual and group work. Each of us individually and collectively worked towards that goal. And even though Roz did not take part, we were given time off during the day. 9 o'clock Zumba class, 12:30 super circuit, to attend group exercise sessions because that earned us extra points. Jackie was unable to participate, but we knew that when the 5 of us were all out of the office, that Jackie was there to hold the fort. The company even provided funds for us to have personal training sessions to gain additional points. I traveled for a few days for work, and when I came back, I doubled up on my activities to gain the points that my absence had created. I held myself accountable, but the team, and Jen in particular, reminded me, and sometimes not even subtly, that I had work to do. You going to the gym today? Are you training with Jason? That was Jen's way of holding me accountable. Building a team takes work and courage. It's not only coaching and checking in with the people that you like. It is having the courage to deal with the ones who are dysfunctional, the ones you have ignored and the ones with whom you have not built any trust, who are contentious or passively aggressive and do not deliver. They are the ones that are impacting your results. For BBE, we can see by the responses that in some cases there are a few people, and in the smaller companies, 1 or 2 who are not aligned with the rest. I am sure that you have a good idea of who they are. Those are the ones that require work and courage to deal with their behavior and performance. As we remake ourselves coming out of the pandemic, don't hanker or resort to what was. The work environment has changed. What are the best practices that you have developed? What are the attributes that you and your team have exhibited and embraced that will stand you in good stead for the future? You will find a lot of good information when we present your reports in the coming weeks. For those of you who are present and who did not participate in the survey, contact me afterwards, and we can discuss how we can help you work better together. Thank you.